welcome here to this afternoon's GNF session, an exciting one. Welcome to all of you. As Executive Director of the IAF, I'm extremely honored to introduce and moderate today's GNF session. Before starting into the introduction, remind you, you can submit questions through the Slido system. As usual, we'll try to maybe have some time for one or two questions at the end. Let's see. And yes, you know already how to operate Slido. Now, coming back to the session, we have the honor of having with us today one of NASA's most distinguished leaders, Pam Melroy, the Deputy Administrator of NASA. Pam is here to share NASA's low Earth orbit microgravity strategy, which is set to shape the future of human spaceflight in LEO and advance groundbreaking science, technology, and exploration. NASA has been enabling a continuous human exploration presence in space for over 2 decades. And as we look towards new commercial destinations on the horizon, Pam will be detailing NASA's vision for the next generation of human presence in low Earth orbit. Let me tell you a little bit more about Pam Melroy, whose remarkable career spanned both aviation and space exploration. A retired colonel of the United States Air Force, Pam was sworn in as NASA Deputy Administrator in June 2021. In this role, she works closely with NASA Administrator Bill Nelson, assisting in making final decisions and shaping the agency's vision, while representing NASA at different levels, at the highest levels, from the Executive Office of the President to international organizations and partners. Before becoming Deputy Administrator, Pam's career as a pilot and astronaut was nothing short of extraordinary. With more than 6,000 flight hours in over 50 different aircraft, including serving in combat during operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm, Pam's accomplishments speak for themselves. As an astronaut, she made history as one of only 2 women to command a space shuttle, logging over 38 days in space across 3 missions. And her expertise has been really pivotal to assembling the International Space Station, where she played critical roles on 3 shuttle missions, STS-92, STS-112, and she was also commanding the STS-120. With that incredible wealth of expertise, Pam is uniquely positioned to guide us through NASA's forward-looking strategy for low Earth orbit and how it will push the boundaries of microgravity science, exploration, and commercial collaboration. Please join me in an applause and welcoming NASA's Deputy Administrator, and I would ask to roll the video now.
The clock is operating. We're underway.
Hello and good afternoon. I am really thrilled to be here with you to discuss something that is very close to my heart, strategy. Specifically, our new low Earth orbit microgravity strategy. It's an effort to define what it is we want to accomplish in the next generation of human presence in low Earth orbit. But first, I'd like to just talk a little bit about what NASA has been able to accomplish strategically in the last few years. A few years ago, NASA received what we consider a gift, the ability to stay the course in a political landscape where administrations and priorities change every few years. Sustaining long-term efforts can be very challenging in this environment because, as you all know, the work that we do requires investments over many years to come to fruition. Fortunately, NASA is nonpartisan, and nearly 4 years ago, we chose to build upon initiatives started in previous administrations, which allowed us to create an agency-wide strategy for deep space human exploration, which each mission directorate and center and every employee could see themselves and understand how they were participating. We finalized that Moon to Mars strategy, setting goals and objectives that form a blueprint for responsible, sustained human presence throughout the solar system, and it has now blossomed into an architecture for achieving those objectives. Our Moon to Mars architecture is updated annually with your help and guidance, by the way, and this strategic approach has been a real boon for NASA. We also had the opportunity to look across the entire agency at other issues. For example, we recently released a cross-agency space sustainability strategy that is taking a foundational approach to solving the problems of preserving not just low Earth orbit, but the solar system for future generations. We have a climate strategy to focus on integrating all the Earth observations, integration data that we use, and our innovative technologies to better understand and address climate change. Additionally, we've undertaken a cross-agency effort called NASA 2040. It's a massive change management effort to ensure that NASA remains the preeminent institution for research, technology, and engineering. I often refer to this as the companion or the complement to our technical strategies because it allows us to make targeted investments in our workforce and our infrastructure to sustain that vision for the future. All these strategies are interrelated with each other, and we're trying to take a holistic approach across the whole agency to space exploration. We really want to look at scientific research, sustainability, and technological innovation while maintaining a wonderful place to work. And today, I'm pleased to talk to you about our newest cross-agency strategy, the LEO Microgravity Strategy. From the very beginning, NASA's human spaceflight programs have each built on each other. When you look at our experience in the space shuttle, we learned how to routinely launch people into space. With the International Space Station, we expanded our knowledge and experience of humans living and working in space for long periods of time. Now in its third decade of operations, the ISS is truly a marvel. It's been a test bed for long-duration microgravity research and technology, hosting nearly 4,000 research and educational investigations from over 100 countries. Teaching us how to sustain humans for long periods of time has been important. It's given us an incredible depth and breadth with relationships with our partner international space agencies, and without it, we wouldn't be ready to take the next step into deep space and Moon to Mars. But I want to share with you that we have methodically derived what we've always known intuitively, that LEO is going to continue to be central to all we do. Today, we know that the space station is a marvel, but it will come to an end, as all programs do. And the commercial space industry is proposing bold new destinations for scientific research and technology development. So maybe we should just leave it to them? That was the question we asked. And when we started really thinking about it, we realized there are such significant benefits that we have gotten from what we have learned in microgravity and in LEO that we need to continue to explore low Earth orbit, using all that we've learned and building into a new generation. So what comes next for humans in LEO? How do you answer a question like that? Well, maybe it's my physics degree, but I always go back to first principles. And first principles for us is, why do we go to space at all? What's the benefit? Why do we do this? Well, we do it because we gain things that cannot be gained by staying here on Earth. This was critical to our Moon to Mars strategy, and now it's critical to this strategy that we start with those benefits. And I think many of you have probably heard me talk about the 3 whys. So, first one is science, second one is national posture, and the third one is inspiration. Our findings from this confirmed that we are on the cusp of a new era in human exploration, but low Earth orbit and microgravity will be essential to our missions. In science, microgravity allows us to peer beyond gravity, which dominates most of the forces here on Earth, into second and third order effects. It allows us to develop experiments and technology that will allow us to understand new insights into biological and physical processes. From material science to biomedical research, combustion, the insights that we gain are invaluable here on Earth. You, our partners, have been with us on this journey, and you know, just as we do, we're not done yet. We're only in our second decadal survey for the biological and physical sciences in microgravity. We have a lot more to go, and I think that's probably been obvious to everybody for quite a while. When it comes to national posture and capabilities, advancing technology enhances a nation's capability to solve problems. And the problems we have to solve are substantial. Microgravity technology and operational capabilities are going to be essential for the future. The real insight is understanding that even for exploring the solar system, yes, we tend to focus on the partial gravity operations on the surface of the moon, but most of those missions will be accomplished in microgravity, certainly as we go out to future destinations like Mars and beyond. We have to not just maintain, we have to advance technology in microgravity and retain our operational skills and advance them as well. It's going to be quite a trip to Mars in microgravity. We've also experienced the economic benefits of our industry capabilities. Commercial crew and commercial cargo have been revolutionary in the commercial space community. It's vital that we continue that capability. Also, the special international partnerships that we have forged because of the space station have been of incredible value and created a unifying force in this complicated world. LEO and microgravity and partnerships will be essential. For inspiration, LEO provides us a persistent, close to home, everyday, continuous presence capability to talk to students, to help them participate in science, to be there every day, to see on the video every day astronauts living and working in space. They're our seed corn, and we think we need a continuous presence in LEO to sustain the virtuous cycle. So what's the point of our strategy? Here's what we call our bumper sticker. Every word means something and was carefully negotiated. Leading the next generation of human presence in low Earth orbit to advance microgravity science, technology, and exploration. We're leading. What does that mean? Well, we're not just waiting for something to evolve commercially in low Earth orbit. We are going to drive it to where we need to be to go on to Mars. The next generation of human presence in low Earth orbit, what does that mean? Well, that defines our focus. We're not trying to do everything that humans do in LEO or that everyone does in LEO, but what human presence in LEO specifically brings to us. So we're really focused on that human spaceflight part, what humans bring to the science, to the inspiration, and to the technology development. And the last part, of course, advancing microgravity science, technology, and exploration. It's actually really important. We talked a lot about this, the fact that low Earth orbit is a key aspect of this, as well as microgravity. While we've made amazing strides currently, conducting scientific investigations will always lead to new questions. So as a result, we're not finished. We need to keep going. And we have to focus on low Earth orbit because, frankly, it's a lot less expensive to get there than it is to get elsewhere. So it gives us a low-cost way of using the microgravity environment to develop the technologies that are needed. I recently talked to a school group, and they were astounded that it only took 8.5 minutes to get to low Earth orbit compared to 3 days to get to the moon and 6 months to Mars. Well, that's not just time, it's money. Exploration highlights that certain microgravity skills and technologies will be best developed in low Earth orbit, like water reclamation and other life support technologies that will enable a Mars transport vehicle to successfully operate on the very long journey to Mars. As I said, every single word of our bumper sticker matters. Today we're at a crossroads. We're planning to deorbit the space station by the end of the decade, and our industry partners are working on new destinations. This is all happening faster than it might seem. If you stop and think about 6 years ago where we were and all the things that have happened, it just seems like a dizzying blur. 6 years from now is not very far away. We really have to be working on this. We have a high sense of urgency about working on it with our partners. We have to have clear eyes for whatever that end state is, and we're leveraging a proven process and guiding principles to set us up for success. First, we have a clear vision. I just described that. We then take that vision and break it down into goals and objectives to ensure that we have a strategic process headed towards success. We released our draft objectives for public comment in late August. Taking that objectives-based approach allows us to think about the what we want before we get to the how. That helps keep us focused in an environment where there are limited resources. These goals are going to guide us as we go forward. We will learn, things will change, and we understand that. But having the what we think good looks like in our heads matters tremendously. So once we finalize our goals and objectives, with your help, I hope you contributed, our architectural approach starts from that desired end state and then works from the left to execute. So architecting from the right, executing from the left. If you saw the Moon to Mars strategy, this looks really familiar. We did learn a lot from our Moon to Mars strategy. In some cases, we used things that had been successful, and we've actually tried a few new things. So I'll try to highlight what's the same and what's different. One constant is that we massively value consultation. Diverse viewpoints enrich our perspective and help us identify things we've overlooked. That definitely happened in our previous strategy. Having said that, low Earth orbit is actually a lot more mature, and like I said, 6 years is coming really fast. So with the valuable partnerships that we have formed, the persistent presence that inspires people around the world daily means our robust workforce brings deep expertise, and we need to figure out how to leverage that as well. Additionally, since finalizing the objectives, we've developed a robust architecture process to translate our end goal into action. We're going to need some kind of whole of agency process like we use the architecture concept review for Moon to Mars. We haven't quite defined what it looks like yet, but we will have an annual consultation process to make sure that we're learning and growing as we go. Finally, looking ahead, we realize things are moving very fast. Things are evolving very fast in low Earth orbit. That means we're going to have to evolve too in ways that we cannot predict yet. So we think we're going to need a staged approach to whatever dream outcome that we have. We have to recognize we may not be able to make the whole leap in one step. It really means that we need to be flexible and reactive. So let's talk about our categories. There's a couple that probably look familiar from the Moon to Mars strategy. Science, of course, front and center, one of the main pillars of why we go to space. And operations, also a critical aspect, the capabilities that we have. We do have a technology-focused area. We call them buckets or categories. Exploration enabling research and technology, very much focused on how we're going to support and sustain our deep space exploration. Commercial low Earth orbit infrastructure, international cooperation, workforce and engagement. I want to highlight the holistic approach to this. In our Moon to Mars strategy, we had different mission directorates take ownership of our different buckets. Well, that's true this time too, except this time we went beyond our mission directorates. Our Space Operations Mission Directorate, of course, is the senior stakeholder in this, but the Exploration Systems Development, Space Technology, and Science Mission Directorates are all involved. And we've involved our mission support organizations, like our International and Interagency Relations Office, Human Capital, STEM Engagement, and Communications. Each of them, probably for the first time in their careers, actually owns goals and objectives for what we are doing. It's kind of interesting journey. We've done this requirements development with our technical community. Now we're trying to do it holistically, including our mission support functions, because we've seen how much the ISS has given us. Let me just give you a quick snapshot of where we are on the goals and objectives today. We have 12 draft goals and 42 corresponding objectives across all the categories. Notably, science and exploration enabling research and technology account for half the goals and over half of the objectives. Goals in science cover space and earth science, biological research, and physical research. Exploration enabling research and technology focuses on technology, exploration, operations, and applied research that's relevant to deep space. Ops and infrastructure have 3 goals between them and 8 objectives, addressing national research and development, transportation and habitation, as well as ops. Our new categories, international and workforce and engagement, have 3 goals and 12 objectives between them. Over a quarter of our goals and objectives came from these new categories. And I'd really like to focus for a moment on international cooperation. That's so important to us, but we actually don't do that without workforce development and STEM. So these all really are working very synergistically together. It was really important for us to have a workforce and engagement strategy allowing teams to shape future capabilities to the work that we are doing today. So I talked about stakeholder engagement. As I emphasized, this is a draft. We have our first draft of the goals and objectives. We won't finalize the strategy without incorporating your feedback, just as we did with Moon to Mars. Like that strategy, we collected information in many different ways, starting with a month-long public comment period, followed by our internal crowdsourcing to get input from NASA employees. And we helped host 2 workshops in mid-September, one in London with the support of the UK Space Agency, thank you, and that was for international partners. And then we had another one in Washington, D.C. for our industry and academia partners. It was kind of an interesting outcome. They weren't contradictory, but they sure were focused on different aspects. So we've got a lot of learning and reflection to do as we absorb that. I think I do want to give you at least a snapshot of some of our key stakeholder inputs that we're trying to figure out how best to incorporate. The first one, of course, is space sustainability was not as front and center. And as we all know, LEO is one of the roughest places for us right now with orbital debris and congestion and contested environment. So we're going to have to figure out a way to interlock our space sustainability strategy with this as well. Second, we heard we need to actually message better the why. We need to articulate why what we're doing in low Earth orbit with humans is necessary. A lot of emphasis on commercial LEO infrastructure. In particular, we're thinking about our fabulous capability with commercial crew and cargo. Transportation is the lifeblood for LEO. There's no point in having a space station if you have no way to get there. So we need to make sure that we are protecting and enabling that critical infrastructure, starting with transportation. But there's other infrastructure too, including communications. But I think transportation is going to be front and center in a lot of the drivers for what we're doing. And finally, I just want to talk about the elephant in the room for a moment. Continuous human presence. What does that mean? Is it continuous heartbeat or continuous capability? While we kind of originally hoped that this would just sort of emerge from this process, we're still having conversations about that and understanding it, and would love to hear your feedback. Now that the comment adjudication period is in progress, and when it finishes, we can focus on next steps. This process is going to take us a few more weeks, and we have an executive council meeting planned for early December to finalize so that we can publicly release the goals and objectives by the end of the year. I gotta say, this has been really sporty for the team. We kicked it off in earnest in the spring, developed goals and objectives over the summer, conducted a month of comments and consultation, and are now in adjudication. Half the time that it took to do this for Moon to Mars. I want to thank the incredible NASA team for everything that we have done and the hard work that you have done to make this happen. We still have to take that next step. Great, we've got a picture of what good looks like. We like our goals, we like our objectives. What's next? Robin Gatens from NASA, who has spearheaded this effort, sort of joked to me, okay, we'll get those finalized and then maybe we'll take a day off. And then we're going to start developing requirements and capabilities. I'm sorry, Robin, there's no rest for the weary. Truthfully, we are behind, and we feel it, right? There's a massive sense of urgency about developing the capabilities that we need by the end of the decade. We know we're going to need a process to establish how to decompose those goals and objectives like the ACR does for us. We just don't know what it looks like yet, but we're talking about it. I just want to say NASA is about solving hard problems. Whether in movies or pop culture, everyone knows we always try to tackle the hardest challenges. Over 50 years ago, we landed on the Earth-facing equator of the Moon. At the time, that was hard. Now what we're working on today, setting up a plan to land, stay at the South Pole near permanently shadowed regions, and then go on to Mars, is much, much harder, orders of magnitude. To create a sustained human presence throughout the solar system, to do this incredibly hard thing, you have to have some foresight and you need a vision for what the next 30 to 50 years looks like. That's hard. Hard is creating the architecture to make that happen and sustaining it. Hard is fostering a coalition of partners from academia, from industry, and from our international partners. Because when you get out into space, there are no borders. We are not taking Americans into the solar system, we are taking humanity. Hard's what we're doing. And microgravity will lead us to Mars. Over the past 3.5 years, we've taken a lot of good steps, I think, to make that next giant leap. Our strategies at NASA are serving not just as NASA's guiding compass, but for so many of you in the room today, charting the course with you and for you on our collective journey. We really need to be aligned We need to be aligned about what we're trying to achieve and what good looks like. We need to keep that shared sense of purpose. It's why consultation has been so important in this process. But our strategies, down on paper, help us all understand what it is we're trying to achieve. When everybody understands their role in advancing humanity, when they see how their contribution fits into what I call the magic, wonderful tapestry of space exploration, I think that inspires us all to give our best. So our strategies aren't just documents, they're vision statements. They're the lifeblood of our collective vision. They provide the foundation on which we build the future. So thank you for the time today, and I'm looking forward are we out of time for questions? I think we are.
I think we've almost run out of time.
Oh, we have run out of time. Sorry about that.
I think this inspiring presentation was very comprehensive, and we all look forward, of course, to continue listening to what's coming up next.
Thank you, Christian. I'm going to have a press conference at 5 in the press room. Be happy to have you there and ask any questions you've got as well. So thank you, everyone.
A big applause for Pam Melroy. Thank you very much. And thank you for your presence.